1066, a year etched into the soul of England, a year that saw the sun set on one era and rise on another. Before this fateful year, England was a land of Anglo-Saxons, a kingdom with deep roots and a rich culture. But across the narrow sea, a storm was brewing, a storm that would unleash its fury on the fields of Hastings. This is the story of the Norman Conquest, a clash of titans that didn't just change England, it forged it anew. So who were the key players in this epic drama? First, we have King Edward the Confessor. His death in January 1066 without a clear heir created a massive power vacuum. On one side stood Harold Godwinson, the most powerful earl in England, elected by the English Council of Nobles, the Witan, and crowned King Harold II. He was a seasoned warrior, a respected leader, and the man the English people looked to for protection. But Harold wasn't the only one with his eye on the prize. Across the Channel in Normandy, Duke William felt the English throne was his by right. He claimed that King Edward had promised him the crown years earlier, and that Harold himself had sworn an oath to support his claim. William was ambitious, ruthless, and a brilliant military strategist. He saw this as a broken promise, a personal betrayal, and he began gathering a massive invasion fleet. And to complicate things even further, a third claimant emerged from the frozen north, Harald Hardrada, the fearsome king of Norway. A legendary Viking warrior, Hardrada based his claim on an old agreement between his predecessor and a previous Danish king of England. I saw an opportunity to restore Viking dominion over England and teamed up with Harold Godwinson, his own exiled brother Tostig. So, the stage was set not for a simple duel, but for a three-way royal rumble for the English crown. King Harold II knew he was in for the fight of his life. Expecting William's invasion from the south, he positioned his army, the formidable Anglo-Saxon Fyrd, along the southern coast of England throughout the summer of 1066. These were tough, battle-hardened soldiers, famous for their impenetrable shield wall formation. They waited and waited, but unfavorable winds kept William's fleet pinned in Normandy. Then, in early September, disaster struck from the opposite direction. Harold Hardrada and Tostig landed in the north of England with a massive Viking army. Harold Godwinson had no choice. In an incredible feat of speed and logistics, he marched his army nearly 200 miles north in just a matter of days. On September 25th, he surprised the Vikings at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. The battle was a resounding, bloody victory for the Anglo-Saxons. Both Harold Hardrada and Tostig were killed, and the Viking threat was eliminated for good. It was a stunning triumph for King Harold, but while he was celebrating in the north, the winds in the English Channel finally changed. Just 3 days after Stamford Bridge, with Harold's army battered and exhausted, William's Norman fleet landed unopposed at Pevensey Bay on the south coast. The news was a hammer blow. Harold had to turn his weary army around and force march them another 250 miles south to face a fresh, well-equipped and cavalry-heavy Norman force. It was a race against time. He gathered what men he could along the way, but his army was a shadow of the force that had fought at Stamford Bridge. On the morning of October 14th, the two armies finally faced each other near the town of Hastings. Harold chose his ground carefully, positioning his infantry on top of a ridge, presenting a formidable uphill challenge for William's forces. His plan was simple and effective: form a virtually unbreakable shield wall. Let the Normans exhaust themselves trying to break it, and then counterattack. The Anglo-Saxon shield wall was a terrifying sight, a solid line of overlapping shields and bristling spears. The battle began around 9 a.m. William opened with a volley from his archers, but they were largely ineffective against the raised shields of the Anglo-Saxons on higher ground. Next, he sent in his infantry to smash into the shield wall. The fighting was brutal, a chaotic mess of clashing steel and guttural screams. But the Anglo-Saxon line held firm. The Normans were thrown back, suffering heavy casualties. Frustrated, William committed his most powerful asset, his knights. The Norman cavalry charged uphill, a thunderous wave of armored men and horses. But they too failed to break the disciplined shield wall. The Anglo-Saxon axes and spears cut them down, and the charge faltered. At one point, a rumor spread through the Norman ranks that Duke William had been killed. Panic set in, and his left flank began to retreat. This was the critical moment. But William was very much alive. In a legendary display of leadership, he rode among his fleeing troops, lifted his helmet to show his face, and rallied them. "Look at me," he supposedly shouted. "I live, and by God's grace I shall conquer." He regrouped his men and turned a potential disaster into a cunning opportunity. He noticed that during the retreat, some of the inexperienced Anglo-Saxon soldiers had broken their formation to chase after them. This gave him an idea. Throughout the afternoon, William employed a brilliant but risky tactic, the feigned retreat. He would have his cavalry charge the shield wall and then pretend to flee. This tempted more of the Anglo-Saxons to break ranks and pursue them, believing they were winning. Once they were lured down onto the flat ground, away from the protection of their shield wall, William's knights would turn and cut them to pieces. This tactic slowly but surely thinned out the Anglo-Saxon ranks. The battle raged for the entire day, a grueling contest of attrition. As dusk began to fall, Harold's army was still holding the ridge, but they were exhausted, and their numbers were severely depleted. William decided it was time for one final all-out assault. He ordered his archers to fire a high arcing volley, aiming over the shield wall to rain arrows down on the men behind it. And then it happened, the moment that sealed England's fate. According to the Bayeux Tapestry and other accounts, an arrow struck King Harold in the eye. He fell, mortally wounded. The death of their king shattered the morale of the Anglo-Saxons. Their leadership was gone, their line faltered, and the Normans finally broke through the shield wall. The remaining English resistance collapsed, and the Normans were victorious. The Norman Conquest was complete. William marched to London and was crowned King of England on Christmas Day, 1066. His victory at Hastings wasn't just a change of king, it was a cultural revolution. The English ruling class was replaced by a French-speaking Norman aristocracy. This profoundly changed the English language, introducing thousands of French words. William also implemented the feudal system, fundamentally restructuring land ownership and society. Castles like the Tower of London sprang up across the country as symbols of Norman power. The Battle of Hastings was more than just a battle, it was the birth of a new England. It was a brutal, hard-fought contest decided by strategy, endurance, and a single stray arrow. The Anglo-Saxon age was over, and the Norman era had begun, setting England on a path that would shape its destiny for the next 1,000 years. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back to 1066. If you found this slice of history as fascinating as we do, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the epic events that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments what historical battle you'd like us to cover next. Until then, stay curious.